Call that meeting to order one more time.
Me. I'm calling the meeting to order.
Okay. Yep, and I'm gonna share the screen up here with for the agenda. And then we have Marquette and Associates here to present the financial update for the second quarter of 2023. If you want to come on up.
Okay, good afternoon. We'll skip all the pleasantries of the market environment, but would be remiss about a page or so into your report with a picture of the Chicago skyline. Would love to host you up there, either in person or also there is a virtual option on September 15th. So
Is that new this year?
New as of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, last year. So it was quite popular. People don't like leaving their house sometimes. So certainly, if you're interested, it goes from, I think, about 8 until about 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and lots of content, not only from internal Marquette people, but we also have some external speakers. So if you're interested, let us know. So today we do have the second quarter. Unfortunately, I don't have July. July was kind of gangbusters on the equity side, but we do have through June. Additionally, we do have that asset allocation study. I don't know the desire to go too far into that, and we're missing a couple people, but we can at least conceptually talk about that. And if you do want to make a move, happy to talk through that.
As long as Mike has studied it very closely, I think we can go ahead and make a decision.
No comment. So in Exhibit 1, just up front, page 1 goes through just the managers. Obviously, we have a limited lineup here, mostly Principal and Vanguard with a couple others sprinkled in there like Pacific and Partners Group. All P's and V's. I didn't realize that. So everybody's in compliance. No issues there. Page 2, market value at the end of the quarter. See 22,149,136. I look at the allocations there, pretty close as of the end of June, being kind of outside of that 5% range within fixed income. So we do have a thought on that in a little bit. But other than that, pretty close to target. You have some overweights, obviously, that make up for that. Real estate being a little overweight, non-US, US equity a little bit, and then Partners Group being overweight to make up for that underweight on fixed income. Jumping ahead to page 5. Says market value history. Just focusing on that table below, you can kind of see the various starting points in time, the net cash flow, the money in, money out, what that net was. That's going to be negative, and then the net investment change, which is hopefully positive, but there can be time periods where that is negative, but not on here. So you can see for the particular quarter, about 257,000 net out for benefits and expenses, and about 618,000 positive for the investments during the quarter. I will jump us ahead to 8 and 9. So overall theme is obviously positive, and I would say fairly strong absolute numbers. The performance of the overall fund was up 2.9 versus 2.7 of the benchmark. So doing well there. That number beneath that, 84. That does mean compared to the public defined benefit universe, we're a little on the back end of the range there for the quarter and also the year. So I'll talk a little bit about that. For the quarter for fixed income, positive against a negative benchmark. That's always great. Obviously, 0.5% isn't anything to get too excited about. But when the benchmark overall for fixed income is negative 0.8, you can see that helps in your ranking amongst peers with the fixed income group has been strong. Looking down the lineup there, Principal Core, that was negative for the quarter. Year to date's positive 2.2. The Core Plus side of things, just a little bit worse off for the quarter, negative 1.2, and not quite as high on the year to date, a positive 1.7. And then some of your plus sectors, which is what's driven that outperformance in fixed income. High yield was up 1.8 versus 1.7, and then for the year up 5.6 versus 5.4. The preferred securities were up 2 versus an index of 1.2. And then for year to date, actually negative 0.1 versus positive 4.6 overall. And then Pacific, this is one of the newer funds that was added in not quite a year, August of last year. That was up 3.1, and that was your big winner on the fixed income side, up 6.8 for the year to date. So that's helped. On the US equity side of things, obviously everything's positive, but we've been trailing the overall Russell 3000. So for the quarter, the mix was up 7.0 versus 8.4. Year to date, down about 3% versus the overall benchmark. In our slides up front, which I did not go through, we talked about kind of the dominance of just a few stocks, at least through the end of June. Previously, we would call these FANGs or any type of acronyms. So far in this current iteration, everyone's gotten lazy and they're just calling them the Magnificent Seven. If nobody wanted to go on an acronym this time, but those stocks have really driven performance this year so far. So if you have any type of tweaks to your portfolio, if you have a bias or a little bit of a tilt towards small cap or mid cap or value, you're going to be trailing. So even though we have index there, any type of bias that is outside of those high weightings is going to be lagging. So the Vanguard 500, that is your highest exposure to those stocks. You see that though is obviously tracking with the index, which is what we want. So you got 8.7 just for the quarter and 16.9 for the year to date. On the value side of things, that has lagged. July, as I said, which I don't have, we saw a little bit of a reversal as value came through, but you can see for the quarter up 3.8, year to date 3.5. So you can see to start the year, the first 3 months, mid cap value was actually negative, so it rebounded. Mid cap growth was up 5.7, and year to date up 14.9. So the mid cap growth not quite as much as some of those large cap names went up so far this year. And then on the small cap side, on the value, that was up 4.6, year to date 5.3. And then on the small growth, you can see 6.2 for the quarter and 14.9 for the year to date. So definitely a bias towards growth this year after growth got clobbered pretty hard last year. Upper side of page 9, you see for non-US for the quarter up 2 versus 2.3, and then year to date 7.9 versus 9.6 overall. You can see the Vanguard Total Stock Fund right in line with that particular benchmark. Year to date up 9.4. The small cap has lagged large cap 2.0 versus 7.9. And then EM, which is historically, it's about a third or so of China. China has struggled this year. So having that amount of weight in there has hurt. Up 1.1, and then you see 4.7 versus 3.9. Obviously, during this particular time period, it's outperformed, but don't get too excited. Eventually, it'll all work out, being close to it. And then principal, this is the one negative for the quarter is on the real estate side of things, down 2.0 versus the overall index down 2.8, and year to date 5.1 versus 6.1. So obviously, that is a negative space.
That's fine.
But they're playing good defense. Yeah, I mean they're overweight to industrial, to multifamily. Those are the places that are still obviously everything is stressed, but those two places are the best places to hide out right now. Any managers that were overweight to office are experiencing significant pain right now. And in our front, which I don't go through, but I am alluding to, we have references to looking at some of the debt that's outstanding, and office overall 2023 and 2024 has a sizable amount of debt and loans and leases coming off. So could be a lot more dislocation in the office space on top of the pressure that we have already right now.
I understand there's a lot of stuff that's going to be. Maybe turn back over the banks.
Yes, that's lots of here you goes going on there. So 3 months for Partners Group. You see that was listed at 0.7, and then year to date at 3.6 overall. So a little quiet on the private equity front compared to kind of the gangbusters that large cap equities especially have done this year. The next few pages are all the historical things, just so you can kind of go back in time if you so desire. If we go to page 30, which is looking at the fees. Okay, so on this, and as a reminder, this is just looking at your investments, your type, same asset classes, and just kind of comparing them to the industry median of those types of investments in those types of vehicles. So you go down the list, the first blue horizontal bar going across, the fund is paying about 38 basis points. So I'll call it just a little over $84,000 annually for this investment lineup. And that number on the far right is 39 basis points. So even though obviously we're doing indexing, we're comparing us to index funds, even with all that, we're a little beneath that industry median, which is good, and a pretty darn low fee. And then we have our fee, and then we have regions on there as well. Gets you kind of your all in number there. Any questions on that part of the report? Okay. So kind of outside, if you go like 2 pages ahead, our rebalance, that's the landscape version there. So outside of a general, just kind of asset allocation study discussion, one of the things that we did want to, talk about was looking to do a little bit of rebalancing. Obviously, equities are up, and the combination of us, also pulling benefits and expenses from that core fund for fixed income is kind of a double whammy on that particular fund. So looking on here, equities in total at this point, as of the end of July, we're 57.1% versus 55, so a little over 2% over. And we know real estate is still over. We know Partners Group is still over, 2 places that we can't access those funds right now. So looking at fixed income's 24.8 versus 30. So we kind of breached that 5% range. So that's a kind of a signal to us to go ahead and replenish the core fixed income fund. So our recommendations, 300,000 from the S&P 500 Vanguard, 75,000 from the Vanguard Total International, and then 50,000 from the Vanguard EM fund. So we'd still be a little bit overweight on this as of this data on equities, but goal is just to kind of obviously replenish and keep us in guidelines. So that would be our recommendation today. Would be a whole total of 425,000 to principal core.
Do I hear any conversation, or do I hear a motion?
I can make a motion to accept their recommendations.
Mike, do I hear?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Passes. Is that fast enough, Darren?
That's just fine.
Great. And
I'm glad that we recorded this. It makes it much easier to do the motion, so we don't have to stop.
And then just flipping over is just where the benefit index is at, plenty of cushion. And obviously, if we're taking money from equities and sending it back to principal and fixed income, that cushion is going to be even higher at this point in time. So there's obviously, as every month, the benefit value goes down. So that's just obviously we're in a good spot now. We have no equity exposure, direct equity exposure in principal anymore. We do have real estate. Obviously, real estate has gone down recently, but no equities.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the other part.
Yes.
You tell me, just proceed and we'll see what happens. Okay.
We're on a roll.
Come on up here. So I also have Jonathan with me. He's any questions on the guidelines and any things that we would possibly need to do and tweak the guidelines. He's a guideline guru for this.
Okay.
So, okay. So opening to exhibit 2, this is the asset allocation study. We just jumped to the page that really matters the most, page 4. You've seen this every couple of years, and the goal is to run iterations of the current portfolio, all the various scenarios that come with that, as well as come with you with a few different options, and actually 5 to be specific here. So getting your bearings on this page, I see this few times a month for clients, and you see this every couple of years. So the current column there, that's your current target allocations going across the board there. And then that you see a summary of portfolio characteristics table there. So your current portfolio from using the most recent data we have, projecting 7.7% annualized 10-year average return. Obviously, you'll never hit 7.7. We'll be wrong, but that's the data that comes out of there. And in the long run, this particular data has proved out well. The number beneath that is volatility. So how much of the portfolio kind of zigs and zags, positive and negative, as it gets to that return. That's 11.11, and that number beneath that is kind of like your miles per gallon. That's just return divided by volatility. We get asked on these things, what do we like? If you're over your return with the proper level of clearance, and we can get that number down there below higher, that usually is kind of our default for things that we like more than others, but obviously a lot goes into these discussions.
So based upon what you just said,
Yes.
D would be the appropriate option.
First option, recommendation for us, if you're willing to make a few changes, would be D.
Okay.
Obviously, we're not talking about huge changes
I
here.
just want to make sure that what you said when I was.
That is
correct.
absolutely
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
That also has a little more changes in it, which I will run through. Kind of looking at things going right to kind of dessert here. So D would be from us, just from a math standpoint, is the preference from a portfolio, a little less involved, but still drifting that way would be option B, would be kind of our second choice.
And then
And
C would be the third choice.
actually option A. Option A would be if you just want to make a couple small tweaks.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Because at that point, you're at 7.6, effectively 10.7. You still nudged your way through there. So I'll kind of talk through quickly some of what's going on some
But
of
let me
these.
just make sure
Yep.
we're using the last 10 years.
It's forward looking.
This is forward looking
Mhm.
based upon what your market.
So based
expectations-
on the interrelationships between interest rates,
Okay.
mortgage-backed securities, equity returns, there's about 50 different things that get priced into this, and it spits out a forward-looking estimate.
Okay.
And actually on the, just so you can see on page 5, those are the asset classes, the expected annual average return from a 10-year basis from this point forward. Obviously, interest rates go up and down. That's been the big catalyst for us having these discussions, because you do this a year ago or 2 years ago, that broad fixed income was 2%
Right.
or
Okay.
1.5%.
Okay.
So
Back when you did it last, core was at 2.1, sorry, core plus is at 2.1 and broad fixed income was at 1.7. So
No.
things have drastically changed.
Okay.
different,
So in the different options though,
yes,
all of the, I'll say, attributes in the model regarding environment is the same. It's just the mix of where we're going to allocate. So
Yes.
there's no, so the variables are fixed for the most part. It's
yes,
just-
yes,
okay.
yes. It's just kind of how you rearrange your house.
Okay.
So yeah, option A, like I said, this one is kind of the least of the changes. You look at fixed income is left untouched. So you're at 30%. A lot of these discussions we're having with clients that may have had higher assumed rates of return, they were sitting at 20, even less than 20, 25%. So we're saying, hey, can you look at 25 or 30%? So in reality, you do have a nice base on your fixed income. If you look at my first choice option D, that has 35%, but going with this. So option A keeps fixed income the same. Equities, the overall percent is the same, but under the hood, we're removing some of that large bet that we've made through the years on small cap and mid cap. So against the Russell 3000, the small cap is right around about 8% of that index. You look at where you're at, you're like almost a quarter of that. So it was a large bet, and we did that because the numbers said, in order to get your assumed rate of return, your fixed income isn't going to get you much at all. So you got to be a little more creative. And the numbers bore out saying that small cap could get you a little bit of a boost. So there's a reason why we was done. So it just reduces mid cap, reduces small cap, so that inherent bias that we had and that bet that you had, while it's still a little, it's minimal. The major swing there has been removed. On the non-US side, he also made a little bit of a bet higher on emerging markets and non-US, same reason, because we needed to try to show that we could get that return. So this just kind of backs off a little bit on that in favor of just the broad non-US equity. For purposes of this one, real estate, I kept the same, and private equity, I kept the same. Like I said, it was just, this one's kind of the least of the changes. But you can see the benefit. Obviously, the return does go down a little bit because obviously we are taking a little bit of those bets off, 7.6 versus 7.7. But there is a nice decrease in the volatility, which increases your miles per gallon there. So the trade-off of losing a little bit of expected return, there is, relatively speaking, a better trade-off on the expected reduced volatility, because obviously EM small cap, that's going to have more volatility. Option B, I think I'll just skip because there's just better options out there, just how this played out. Going to option C. Actually, I'm sorry.
Let me go back.
Yep.
Let's just look at real estate for a second.
Mhm.
If we were to make a change in anything beyond option B,
Mhm.
we really can't do it, can we?
Yeah, at this point, you're saying this is where we want to go. This is more just aspirational right at this particular moment. But what we're doing is saying, okay, this is where we want to go. And then as things do loosen up, then you can actually get there. But yes, you are correct. You say we want some money right now, which we have in the queue, not able to access it.
Okay.
Yep. So I did misspeak there. So option B actually is one also we should just quickly look at. The difference here, 30% still in fixed income. But the difference here is the preferred stock allocation is removed. I know various meetings through time talk positive and negative about that allocation, but inherently that's in there because you needed the boost, the assumed boost from the yield versus what else was going on in the fixed income portfolio. On the US equity side of things, that allocation is the same as option A, and all the others are the same as well. So basically option B, the difference is you reduce your return again a little bit. Now it's down 7.56, but you've also reduced your volatility because that preferred stock allocation is gone. Option C was the one I so we can probably skip that one. Option D is the other one that's kind of the furthest along on this journey. This one has 35% in fixed income, so actually increasing that by 5%. And on there, you can see that's split between your broad fixed income, obviously 10% in core plus, you got 4.5% in high yield and 4.5% in bank loans. On the US equity side of things, that goes down slightly to 35.5%. And within there, you can see mid cap is down a little bit. Comparatively, that's now 2.5 and 2.5. And then on the non-US, that overall allocation is down 0.5%, with that coming from non-US small cap. And then the big difference here versus the others we talked about is that 7% lower target to real estate core. And that sums up in that option D. So about 7.47, and then volatility of 10.35 with that utility number of 0.72, which is the highest. Option E completely removes real estate, and you can see that from a volatility standpoint kind of shoots your volatility back up by completely getting rid of it. So obviously, unless that's the desire of the board, obviously that would take time to get to zero, but just wanted to put that in there just so we can kind of see pulling on different levels.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How does the volatility of private equity compare to preferred securities? Can you
Good
go back to that?
Good question. So I'm pulling up page 5. So preferred securities, preferred stock, the and I'll give you both numbers. The expected average 10-year return is 6.0 and volatility is 9.1. And private equity fund of funds, the expected return is 11.3 and volatility is 12.2. So to answer your specific question, preferred stock is lower volatility than the private equity fund of funds.
I guess I'd be, I know you didn't run this scenario, and I'd be curious to see what removing preferred security and moving that allocation to private equity would do to the asset allocation report. I mean, I feel like preferred I'm in agreement with the preferred security basically acts like equities anyway. So it seems like that's kind of a, I don't know, I don't feel like we should treat that as fixed income. And if we were to remove it, I'd be curious to see what adding that to private equity would do, since Partners Group is likely going to grow above our allocation anyway.
Mhm.
Just kind of seeing what that would do to it.
Yeah, I do not have that scenario, but sometimes we do these and we come back with homework. So totally, it's all part of our retainer. So no problem if that's
Sorry for the homework.
no. We have many, because obviously everyone's looking at differently now with
Right.
interest rates higher, you feel like you have more options to look at different parts of the portfolio where you were kind of forced
Right.
earlier.
And assuming Mike's assumption is correct, that you look at preferred stock very similar to what you do private equity, then that would make sense to look at that.
Yeah, and if you were sitting here at already like 10 or 15% private equity and ask that, I mean, you probably wouldn't ask that question then, but then I would say, okay, that from a illiquidity standpoint, you're getting a little close there, but being that you're only at 5%, adding another 4 or 3 or whatever that number is totally within reason.
And I don't know that it'd be, I guess eventually you'd have to change the IPS, but I feel like just removing private equity, and I don't know if you necessarily even need to allocate it to Partners Group, but just, we have Partners Group with our clients, and I just seen how it grows over the years. And, it'll get to 10% pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Just in my experience.
And I guess one of my comments about that is that private equity is almost like what I refer to as commodities was 10, 15 years ago. Is that as everybody's starting to go into it, there's not as much private equity to choose from.
Mhm.
So it's bidding up the price.
Mhm.
Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, I mean, there's both ends of the spectrum too. Obviously, there's more buyers and there's a ton of dry powder right now, but you still do look at the landscape of private companies versus public companies, and public companies trending downward and private companies are continue to trend.
Yeah, I have to deal with quarterly statements.
Yeah.
They're going to be a lot less volatile than commodities were, though, Alan, in my opinion.
Say it again.
I would feel like private equity would be a lot less volatile than commodities. in my opinion.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I've only worked for private companies, so
Mhm.
you have a vision that you're trying to get to, and you don't have to worry about what's happening. On a
Yeah,
quarterly
you're
basis.
not worried about, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's certainly the case that there is much greater interest when it eventually gets to a point, sounds like, they're going to get there is, individuals and 401ks then it's obviously going to be kind of a lot more explosive in the amount of
Right.
dollars heading there.
Yeah.
Where that goes.
Or maybe it's even a decision of like, once we get out of the gate from principal and real estate, that we shift some of those dollars over to private equity versus preferred. I don't know. I'm just always of the belief that you take your risk more on the equity side than you do in fixed income. And I feel like preferred is kind of a equity in sheep's clothing in the fixed income model there.
And we don't have any mezzanine financing available to us or private debt, do we?
Let's see, the sizing. You may be able, we have some evergreen funds that we work with. You're over 20, sometimes 20 to $25 million range is where they'll start talking to you.
Okay.
And we do have some evergreen funds. We don't have to like re-up every 2 or 3 years on a fund. And we have had pretty good success with that. I can also use that as a take home, is just going to research that and see if there's any.
The reason I bring that up is because, and Mike, I'm doing just because of Northwestern Mutual, a large portion of their general portfolio is made up of mezzanine, and that's where that's where all the value add or the
Mm-hmm. Oh,
alpha
yeah.
comes from.
Yeah, we're getting incredible yields right now. As long as the economy holds, these yields are
Right.
phenomenal.
So I have a question though, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more to Mike or to you guys. But if we're moving, like if you were to, like you said, go back and do some homework and move preferred stock into the private equity, do you still then try to target the total fixed income less the preferred stock to be at 30% or so?
I think in the models that they ran, they moved the preferred stock up to the core bonds, if
Yeah.
I'm
Correct.
seeing those models correctly. So at a minimum, I think that makes, I would agree with that recommendation. And maybe it's a two decision fold here. It's what do we do with the real estate funds when we get them? And then maybe you don't really need to do any homework. It would just be that once we know the real estate funds are loose, where do we put those? And I think the suggestion would generally be to go to core fixed income, but maybe we reevaluate whether or not we put that towards private equity versus core fixed income.
Or are there other real estate funds we can use that would have more allocation to what we'd want to see?
Yeah, there are, for sure.
Right, okay, I'm
there's
just throwing that out.
Yeah, there's plenty out there. From a sizing standpoint. I mean, Principal itself is a great fund, like hands down. They
Right.
Great fund. Are there other ones that are a little less seasoned that have come out in the past few years that don't kind of have more legacy assets? Yes. Are they looking a lot better right now? Yes.
Where are they gonna be in the future?
Yeah, where they in future, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so Principal right now, you have about 2.6 million, that's 12% of the portfolio. So if you wind up kind of right sizing at 10%, 10% is 2.2, and half of that, a little over 1 million. There are real estate managers that will take $1 million. Ones that we work with, so that's also an option.
Are you expecting us to make a decision tonight on this?
I have no expectations. So
When do we expect real estate to open up or?
they're not giving any official heads up. Other managers are kind of letting some money out, but Principal has always been more, I guess, for better or for worse, disciplined and a little tight with the financials. So I would not assume next quarter.
What is the maximum time period they have to free it up?
That would need to check the docs.
Okay.
It does vary, and they
Right.
can apply if they're in financial distress, which they're not, but there's other funds that they can apply to delay things, but we can see if there's any, I can't think of what.
I don't think there's a max. I mean, I think they can.
Okay.
That's the nature of the illiquid fund. They can hold it for as long as they need.
Right. The only thing I'd say about this itself is, the changing of this is a meticulous. It takes a while between, if we were to reallocate, it looks like we would need a change of the allocation.
Yes,
So if we were gonna try to do that, we probably need to get that done for the next meeting here that would go to the council, which puts us into, I think, November.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it sounds to me like that's based on that plan there, it looks like we should probably, the consensus here is to work toward a proposal to remove the preferred stock from the fixed income allocation and move that toward private equity. Or is the mezzanine debt considered a private equity exercise, or is it more of a real estate?
we'll say private markets. How about that?
Okay.
So that would fall under private debt, private credit, which is kind of interchangeable,
Okay.
private equity. So we can come with a couple. First, I'm gonna double check that with our options for the sizing we'd be looking at of, where it's, 3 or 4 or 5%. And then for sure, we can obviously model private equity getting the boost.
As far as that goes, this is the one roughly based, I'm sorry, looking at that
Yeah.
reallocation, that's the one roughly based on that.
Yeah.
On that, I guess it's what do we call it? Investment policy.
Yeah, and Jonathan, pulled the policy, and you are
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
You have targets, and it's not in the appendix, it's right in the middle, so everything has to run.
Okay,
It would have to be changed.
okay.
So the sub allocations require a council sign off?
Yeah, with a recommendation from
Yeah.
this committee.
Okay.
Okay.
The only thing that's in the appendix, which does not need council, is just the individual manager. So if you fire a manager, you don't obviously need
Got it.
council's blessing for that.
Hey, Mike, do you want to make the recommendation?
So the recommendation would be to remove preferred securities from the fixed income sub allocation to put that towards private, whatever. Right.
And right now, I think we're seeing a direction, but then a direction to Marquette to work up a policy change that would then be recommendation at a future meeting.
Yep, yeah, based on
Yeah, right.
decisions made at the next meeting, then we'll
Yeah.
follow with.
And which is our next item then is, do we want to schedule a meeting sooner than quarterly to address this? Or would we like to do that if we get notification that principals freeing up some funds?
I mean, I think the excess principal dollars is a separate discussion. I think,
A separate, okay,
I mean, and maybe I'm wrong there, but I feel like anything that is freed up from principal right now is set to go to core fixed income, I would think,
Yes.
right?
okay.
And if we do fully pull out of the preferred securities and it does not go into the core on principal, then obviously we'll mock up what the impact on the benefit index would be.
That's right. And that benefit index is
that-
the next, so we'd have. to
Our,
look at
what
that.
we were proposing was staying within principal, so that wasn't even a factor, but
Right.
we also want to account
Yeah,
for.
good point. Good point. Although I think it's probably one of the riskier parts of the buffer, right? The benefit index.
So the investment value is 860,000, the liquidity volatility factor is 0.75. So that's about 645,000 of that number. So we got the spreadsheet behind this and we can at least, that's feasible.
Yeah, as far as that going, because entering that US proper, the principal real estate back in, it's dollar for dollar there, but again, a separate discussion.
Right.
Okay, did I make the appropriate motion or do I need to do another one?
I don't, yes, I think we have good direction.
Any new business? Are we done?
Only other thing was, go ahead.
The next official scheduled meeting, November. As in the past couple of years, that November 2nd date. We have an annual meeting that we have in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
So is it possible we could schedule this the second Thursday of
Yes.
November?
Mhm.
November 9th.
Number 9, okay.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. We aim to please.
Thank you. That's pleasing. Thank you.
So we are okay with this waiting until the November 9th for that change? Everyone is.
There's
okay.
nothing urgent
Okay.
on our end for
Okay.
this, so.
Could we send, yeah, would you be able to do the impact of what we just motioned, I guess, to at least in the modeling, just so we see what the impact of it?
Yeah, I'll include, and we'll get this before the meeting again, just so you have it, obviously.
Well, Mike, you want to see it before that, correct?
Yeah, just in our meeting, just so we have the information to know we're gonna discuss at the November meeting. If it's right before, that's fine, I think. But
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay.
Right, I don't have any other items that would need, nothing else is on the agenda.
I think that, I guess we can do that afterwards. Update on the city.
Sure, we have a new city manager starting on Monday. Jennifer Yackley is her name, and she's coming here from Rock Hill. And so we're excited for that news. Available to move in up at the Clover. I think 2 or 3 folks have moved in already over the last week. And that's
You said
it.
Clover.
At the Clover, which is the Olive Crossing, the big apartments at Olive in the TIF.
They have had people. move
There's,
in?
I think there's 3 or 4 people that.
So
that
the
live in
actual
there.
September 23 is actually holding true.
Yes,
Very good.
yep, there is, a
certainly-
Paris baguette is coming, in the next year or so to the one at the corner. The corner lot there right by where the detention basin is. So that's one of the first build outs of a restaurant. It's a bakery and
Okay.
coffee shop.
Where's that? Which corner?
It's at the corner of I-170 and Olive.
Oh, okay.
So
So that's gonna compete with Revel Cup or it's,
it'll be a competitor. They would brand themselves more of a bakery,
okay.
but they do offer coffee and some light sandwiches and stuff like
Okay,
that.
got it.
It'll be the first one in this area. I think there's only a couple. I just read an article. I think there's 400 or something maybe in the whole United States, and this will be the first one in St. Louis area.
Oh, so it's a franchise.
It is a franchise.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
Are they
they're
really?
I was just reading the article on it. They're looking to do I think expand by 1,000 per year for the next 2 or 3 years,
Wow.
which is a recipe for disaster if you ask me. But we got the first one here. There's really low cost barriers to entry as far as the franchise goes. But
Wow.
it'll be definitely amenity to the folks that live there and visit there.
What's it called again?
Paris Baguette.
Paris, not yet.
Yep. And then at Olive and I-170 there, the council amended the redevelopment agreement as of July 25th, so their last meeting, that would extend the time allowed to build. But one of the major thing, the thing they're expanding the time to build is it takes away one of the discount grocers, as there's talk that an Aldi will be applying and moving there at the corner of North Price and Olive.
So there's you said Aldi's applying to go there?
No application officially, but the amendment would allow it, and previously was not allowed.
And that's in the Gateway Crossing, or that's on the other side where CVS is?
Other side, right?
The other side from CVS, so inside of the TIF.
Nice.
So it's
What's
gonna
there right now? What's the crop?
Right now, there's nothing.
Okay.
Well, it's where the old gas station used to be, roughly. There, it was within the redevelopment area.
Okay.
It would, if you look at it where the apartments are facing toward us on Olive, this would face toward the apartments.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'm really confused where it is.
Huh?
So if we're talking about the southeast, we're talking about the south
Northwest corner.
northwest corner. So isn't that where the what you call it is? Where the dispensary is?
Chevys and all that?
That's what I was thinking.
I'm
Like
doing a really bad job.
The
It's going to be
I'm like, yeah, isn't it
right
a
here.
dispensary and a foam cushion
yeah,
replacement?
you're on Northwest. Did I say Northwest?
Yeah.
Southeast.
Southeast. Okay.
Yeah. Other things, there's a lot happening right in here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this whole area.
Yeah.
So
So you're saying.
the
it's-
apartments are right here.
Okay,
The Aldi will be roughly right here. Paris Baguette will be right in here, lot
Oh.
4. And so you'll enter here, there'll be an Aldi would take lots 1 and 2. And then the Paris Baguette would here take lot 4, or lot 3. And lot 4 is the apartment complex right in here.
so they also have an Aldi down.
Yes, there's a ton of them around
New
here.
City.
Yep,
and on the
there
other
was-
side at 270.
There's one at Olive and 270. Or sorry, well, roughly over there.
Yeah.
And then there's one just at North and South that's newly opened.
Yep.
And there's a famous test one that's come around. I think it's from like in the Brentwood area. There are ones that are two that are really close together. And they said it worked out just fine. And so they're just fine with them being that close.
Wow.
We're actually in a food desert here.
Yeah, we definitely
So
are.
it solves a little bit of a.
Until the other side of
Just a site.
170 has Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
Cane's, they're bringing all that.
Yeah,
But aren't they also gonna have a Deerberg? over
Yeah.
there as well?
that has they've pulled out of that. The Target.
Oh, they
Dearborn,
did.
Yeah, plan of that was it has fallen apart. The Deerworks was going to be roughly right in here. And then the Target up toward here.
So the Target's no longer,
No,
so they're gonna have.
That's what
Target-
I've heard.
Target by close to Costco then is what. they're
it's
gonna-
that's not going to happen either. So I don't know if the
Okay.
financier it was a group development or what, but that's not.
Interesting.
We're talking of the northwest corner here. So this is where the Balboa, a redevelopment of apartments are just going in right here, 250, 300 units. Part of the agreement for the tax abatement was that they would contribute toward the reconstruction of this intersection right here at North Price. The city's also has about $700,000 in cost share money from MoDOT to expand and add a lane here at North Price. So this building, I'm gonna turn the layer on for the pretty much this right here will go straight right through this building right here. And so this, we have an agreement with, again, with MoDOT to acquire that property for right of way and add and improve that intersection.
So will that building, will that business move to one of the new?
I sure hope
locations?
so.
Yeah.
That is, will be up to the owner in the city and the lease. There's the Uniform Act for acquiring property governs a lot of what we would be able to do or say there. But has to be very fair. We can't be strong arming anybody to move in or out. And so that is a lease with the property owner. Greg Yalwitz owns that property there.
Which property?
The where the CDB Kratom,
Oh, really?
the former cleaner.
Oh, good for Greg.
It is.
Did I hear you correctly that the Target and Deerbergs are no more?
That's correct. That's what I've heard too. Our planning department stays abreast of those kind of things, just at a market and their
So what are they build? What are they building north of Olive then on next to the Costco on the north side?
I thought that was I thought that was the restaurants that were going in the building
The
pads.
restaurants are going south.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think Chick-fil-A is north. It looked like the sign for Chick-fil-A was north,
Okay,
but like
King's
Cane's and
is south.
Chipotle and Panera are south or something.
So there is a Panera. I hadn't heard that. There's gonna be a Panera there.
I think so. I think that was part of the, but that was also when Deerbergs was in. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's what's going on in the city. Our
I
community
also heard that,
is
is
opening.
it true that Taco Bell's going over to a Starbucks?
This one?
Yeah,
I have not heard that. That's a good one.
I think that broke
Kids
over the
would be-
weekend or something.
Ecstatic.
Oh, we can't get rid of Taco Bell. Can't make a run for the border.
The community center is opening too. It's supposed to
When?
open in October now.
Oh.
I know it.
Oh.
Just a sad story through and through.
Why? It's because it was supposed to open up earlier.
December. It was originally supposed to open in December.
So if it's supposed to open in December and it's opening in October, isn't that earlier?
Last December.
Huh?
Last December.
Oh, last December.
Yeah, and then I thought, I
We
mean, it's not
expanded it out.
official, but then it was like maybe early summer, then August.
It was then moved from December to April, and then so I was really excited to be able to give the opening remarks as the city manager.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, we were informed that it wouldn't be ready until August, and so here we are in August.
Well, it's gonna be nice to have an ice skating rink.
Yeah, it really does look nice, and it's really coming together in the last couple weeks. It's a really nice looking building.
What are they gonna have in there? I mean,
What are we not gonna have in there? No ice skating. There will be no pool.
Okay.
But if we go around kind of the horn of what there is, it's a full gym with a full basketball court, a full workout facility, CrossFit.
CrossFit?
You can be able to do CrossFit inside there. The regular kind of stair power mills, treadmills, that kind of stuff, barbells, heavy
How
weights.
about American Ninja Warrior?
You could maybe fashion something through there.
Really?
It's a pretty big good sized rack. Yeah, that's going in there.
Okay.
And then there's an aerobics room, dance studio for yoga.
Pilates.
Yeah, yep. You name it. It's just a big empty room with mirrors. Then there's some changing suites, a big indoor playground with a Walhalla, which you don't see very many of them around in the United States either. There's a 125, 150 seat multi-purpose rooms for like banquets,
Okay.
wedding reception, something like that. A teaching kitchen, catering kitchen. And that's pretty, and then an esports nook. So if you want to do some online gaming, you can always come up to the community center.
You have something else?
Excited?
I am. Can we reopen the investment conversation for a quick second? So I was able to get the BI calculator on my phone. If we remove preferred, the cushion goes down to about 420,000.
Okay.
That's low.
It's low.
Yeah, I was
was-
looking at that. I mean, if it's operating up, yeah. we, without any more of that, we just, without opening up it itself, we can take that with us to go, that it's gonna be really difficult.
Okay.
With the current allocations and the current.
Yeah.
Modes, we're gonna have to move some money back into back into principal in order to kind of make that happen. And that a lot can change in the next 3 months about how that can happen.
Yes, okay, just.
Okay, thank you.
For the scenarios. I'm just gonna knock down the small cap and big cap. You want me to still continue that? Part of these scenarios?
Mike,
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that question. Something about small cap?
For these scenarios that we will update, should we continue with the little project of reducing the overweights to small cap and mid cap as part of this?
I'm not as passionate about that, but I would defer to the rest of the committee as well.
I think we should probably talk about that because I'd like to have Ted here for that as well.
Mhm. I'd
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate
Run a scenario test on our Monte Carlos.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
That's it as far as what's going on in the city. It's an exciting time and we're really looking forward to moving forward with a new city manager.
When are you
Kind of
gonna
stuff.
start taking reservations or?
Reservations are
applications or whatever?
available from
Membership.
October now, and
are.
memberships are open too. We can,
Oh,
I don't know if
that's-
anybody's up here right now, but you can still buy a membership right now.
How much is the
Okay.
membership?
Depends on your age and your household. I can really
Is it
quickly,
by household?
you know, of all the
It
things
can
that I
be.
do, I really don't know.
Like you can do 2 adults, 2 children, I think, in the household to get I'll say a deal versus being like a single adult or a couple
Uh-huh.
or,
And we just signed an agreement with Silver Sneakers. I don't know if it's gonna be.
wow, that's cool.
So it can kind of, if you're in our Optum Health, there's lots of names that it goes under. But you can get memberships that way too.
Yeah, Alan, that Medicare enrollment will get you free membership then.
Yeah, I mean, do I have a chance? Do I have a chance to go to, what's it called? What's the place called down on Lindbergh? Fitness.
Lifetime?
Lifetime.
Oh, yeah. I think I heard they're cutting that deal. the
I
next
think
year or
they
so.
are because last time I looked on their site, they didn't have it, but I've been going to Stretch Lab.
So households, 60+ households, 250, 60+ singles, 179, adult, 250.
How much is it
Down screen.
for old?
An
folk?
adult is 249, 60+ is 179 for a single person.
Is that
Households are 250
a month or is that
a year.
Oh, that's great.
Daily
You're
fee, if you-
comparing it to lifetime prices. This is.
If you can't afford that, you only go a couple days a week, $7 to get in.
Wow.
That's what they do at the Clayton Center, like a daily rate. My
Mhm.
kids go there all the time. We're not members, but
Okay.
they love it.
All right, that's good.
Yeah, very cool.
So I go to Stretch Lab.
So I was gonna say, yeah, our friends own Stretch Lab.
Oh, Alan?
Mhm.
Really?
Yep.
I met Alan. first
He's
time
a
I
Green
went.
Bay Packer fan, just like us.
That's great. Okay, is there a motion to,
Motion to adjourn.
yes,
Second.
Adjourn.
all in favor? We're done. Thank
In
you.
favor.
Thank you,
Bye,
Mike.
Mike.
Good night, y'all.